Hey, and we're back. Welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Podcast at the Venetian Tattoo Gathering, Day 2 in Venice, Italy. We're here with the brains behind the, can I say that? The brains
One
behind,
of them.
One of the brains, one of the big brains behind the operation, Mr. Gabe Ripley. And I wanted to start with, we just talked to Derb before this, and we talked a little bit about...
He's the handsome one. Although, don't tell Alex that.
Right. I don't know. Emily thought Alex was the handsome one. Yeah. I don't know. It's the accent, probably. And the fact that he acts like he can't speak English and he turns and looks to buy time from his... I don't buy that for a second.
No, he doesn't. He speaks perfect English.
He has to. I'm sure he does. Anyways, so I was talking to Derb about people that are not tattooers being parts of the tattoo industry and how often it's hard to get an in. Not just, definitely not on the scale that you've moved to, but even owning a shop, someone owning a shop that's not a tattooer. The shop that I worked at for 15 or so years before I moved to my studio that I'm in now, the woman that owned it was not a tattooer. And I think she felt like she was kind of, she was a woman in 1992 opening a tattoo shop, but a non-tattooing woman opening a tattoo shop. She dealt with a lot. Do you feel like there was a huge barrier for you kind of making an impact?
Yeah, well, I don't know about making an impact, but not tattooing. Tattooing is a very, it's a short cycle, right? You can tattoo on somebody, show them a good time, they'll come back with their friends. Mm-hmm. So for a non-tattooer to be actually able to produce some sort of value in that very short transaction takes a lot of creativity and energy. Mm-hmm. Clearly, I've been able to work very hard for a lot of people for a long period of time to be able to create a whole business. I have a living doing this and have for probably 10 to 15 years. I've been doing nothing but it.
Right.
There was a transitionary period, but mostly where I see where I see non-tattooing owners fail is it's just a lot of time and energy that you have to invest to know enough and to work hard enough to be able to again to produce value that the artist couldn't do themselves. And most non-tattooers aren't going to spend that much time and energy trying to figure it all out because in the end there are way easier ways to make money. Maybe that's why I come at it from another end. I'm not one of the non-tattooers who's like, oh, I've got $100,000, I'm going to open up a shop. Don't you want to come work for me? I know business better than any of your stupid tattooer friends.
Right.
It's more like I was, using computers to be able to trade out to afford the tattoos that I couldn't get.
Is that how it started? You were trading, I know you were building websites for tattooers and things like that. But did it start out as kind of a trade?
Yeah, probably
deal?
like 5 or 6 years, or maybe even 6 to 8 years before that. I started off, I was a freelance computer programmer in my early 20s, very early 20s. And I would trade out. So I started getting shitty tattoos. Realized I was supposed to find a good tattooer.
Right.
And then I was like, I've got $300 for the cover up I wanted to do on my leg, and he was like, well, it's a $500 tattoo. He's like, well, I'll do it for $300. And I was like, came out like shit. I was like, next time. So as I learned those lessons, I realized. I could start trading out. I was doing high-end programming for Honda, Epcot Center, touchscreen kiosks, and then when the websites started coming out, then I was like, this is something that we can use to put up pictures, pretty pictures on the web. At first, it was pretty boring. I was doing video games and pictures and words on the web. It was kind of basic. But he started tattooing. He's like, I'll do something small on your hand like this for free, but when I work on the parrots, it'll be a little bit of a session fee. And the next month I went back, and I was just, from there on out, it was a full-on trade because it worked so well.
Yeah.
So we did that for, like I said, 5 or 6 years before we opened up.
What year was this that was starting?
Okay,
about?
This is a little fuzzy. I would say
I mean, just
like
a
probably like
range.
95, 96-ish.
Okay.
It was during that transition. Again,
Yeah.
it's it's a long time ago. Not that long, but it's long enough that it's a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
I think we registered Tattoo Now officially in like 1999.
Okay.
So we had been doing it probably 3 to 4 years before that. Again, it started off as, I'll do a website and trade for you to do tattoos on it.
Right.
And then, Joe Capobianco came on board and a couple other Long Island shops. And then from there, it kind of just snowballed, and with those guys' reputation, Nick Baxter was one of the first artists that was on the site through Darkside.
Right.
So, with those guys' visibility on Tattoo Now, it kind of just, it worked really well.
Yeah. Did you find it difficult, or did the artist realize the value, or the value of having a website? Did they see the transition taking place in the mid '90s, or were they still like, I don't see the purpose in this. I need a paper portfolio. Like,
one of my next art marketing campaigns will be something to the effect of, who needs to pay for a website? My space is free.
right.
People barely get it now. Some people do. And I don't, it took me years to figure it out. I'm like, man, we're doing these websites. It's a scientific thing. You update on a regular basis, and you get visible with the people that are searching for the tattoos that you're doing. And then if you're good, they want to get them. And you need to be keeping your website updated. And there's work involved.
Yeah.
It's not like you could just put up a website and have instant fame.
Sure.
Although in the past it may have been a little bit easier.
Maybe in '96 that was a thing.
But, there was absolutely.
Yeah.
There's people that have been able to ride out their websites for 3 to 5 years. But really, the artists that are always continuously taking the energy that they have and not squandering it are the ones that I prefer to spend time with, anyways.
Sure.
And in some ways, the shops and the conventions are ways to kind of always refine the set of artists that we're working with in different ways. So it's fun to become aware of people's portfolios through the websites and help them in that aspect of their careers. But doing this long enough, the artists that are really interesting are the ones that are like, ooh, we get it.
Sure.
We use it, and then we can, engage in further, explorations of projects and such.
Where, as far as your energy over I don't know the period of time, is more time spent planning these gatherings, these big conventions, or the webinars, or where, or is your time divided pretty equally? If you had to establish a hierarchy in maybe of importance with what all Tattoo Now does, how does it work?
Well, it ebbs and flows. So we're not always doing tattoo conventions, and we're not. We have and it's a little crazy. There's 3 or 4 different events. There's the different shops. There's right now we have 3. There's the headquarters that's in Massachusetts, in East Hampton. We've got the partnership with Jeff out in Grants Pass, and then of course with Alex here in Italy. So there's the tattoo shop division. We have Tattoo Now and the webinars, which is the technology division. And then we have the events. We have a ton of great people working. I don't know if you've seen, Steve and Ben are around, and then there's a whole team at Back It Off the Map and all the places. I think company-wide there's 35 people.
Oh, wow.
So I probably spend more time these days trying to figure out, business organization. I've never been a CEO of a multinational, massive corporation before. So I'm reading books and shit and trying to figure out how to get everybody organized so that we don't, I've watched a million tattoo shops fall apart for a variety of different reasons. And for me, I was always like, oh, man, this is great because I'm not going to get lazy and I'm not going to do so many drugs. I'm going to fall off the face of the earth and I'm not going to get divorced. So I, hate myself. Not that I find fault with those people. I hope, eventually, hopefully they heal from their problems. But I've watched tattoo shops get taken out left and right. And, a couple of years ago, I was like, oh my God, like if I don't figure out how to organize this appropriately, it's going to, explode because of success. So I spent a fair amount of time on that. So as far as the priority, I think that what's most important for Off the Map for me right now is just organizing everybody so that we're communicating properly amongst all of the different divisions. And then I focus my time on the specific areas that either things are time sensitive. Again, if a convention's happening, then everything else is off of my plate. But it's also difficult, like in the process of renovating or project leading ish, or being the owner of a project. We're renovating 4,500, 5,000 square foot theater space for our tattoo shop in East Hampton.
Oh, wow.
We've got the 175 websites, and we were dealing with computer fucking spammy problems that were. They took up fucking 2 hours a night, So I'd come home from, I'd be in Venice, I'd be coming home from the bar, dealing. I mean, I have a great team, so I'm communicating with people back home.
Yeah.
And they're fixing the problems, and I'm helping them, fix the problems. So I'm very thankful that they're there to do it. But I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy.
So the challenge right now for you is to keep from just putting out fires, right? I mean, if you're dealing with things like that and having to constantly deal with things that pop up, like a spammy issue or something like that. Is that always something you battle?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always conditions. Conditions are always changing. The more I've been learning about business techniques and whatnot, there's always processes that you couldn't put in place. And I mean, but you have to do two things. One, you can't put processes in place to overcompensate for laziness or bullshit. On the other hand, what you want to do is put processes in place that are able to help enhance and fuel the communication and what's happening. So again, we want to put say scheduling processes in place so that everybody knows the schedule for the month very clearly, and we email it once a month to everybody. And if anything changes, the emails have to go through me or somebody. We all have to know. Sure. As opposed to just being like, hey, I'm going to take next Tuesday off, or I'm going to take a vacation 3 months from now. Now the process of organizing that is. We can't do it. We're not doing it to overcompensate people that can't keep track of calendars. We're doing this because this way all of the communication goes to a central person, so that everybody that needs to know knows, so everything can get filled in. Yeah. So trying to solve the problems before they happen is a large part of what I'm trying to figure out how to do.
Right. We talked a little talking to Derb earlier. We were talking about businesses that grow at a clip, and then. I referred to I don't know if you ever read the EMyth books, the EMyth Revisited.
I'm vaguely familiar.
But so one of the common issues that he addresses in that book is a business grows at a clip that it collapses back on itself because the CEO, the manager, whoever, the owner, gets to a point that they may try to write processes, but they feel a need to control everything to a point that they can't pass off. They're not confident enough to recognize where their strengths are and where it's smarter to pass something off. So instead of continuing to grow, they say, like, this isn't working, we need to drop back down and start this over. So they keep hitting this ceiling over and over. Do you find yourself doing that at all? Or do you feel like your ability to
Nah, I mean, I don't. I've never been. I've always been fine surfing. Like, I know that I'm not in control. Like, this nature is fucking completely out of control. So I'm doing my best to manipulate forces. I'm doing my best to create situations so that what I'd like to have happens. But there's no way we could have gotten this far if I wasn't comfortable. I mean, we have so many awesome people. Yeah. I mean, the team that we've attracted are all people who, and as I mentioned in the seminar, when you're clear about your mission and what your values are, people that now are attracted to Off the Map or in Tattoo Now and all this, they know what we're about. I mean, I put it in a seminar. I tell everybody very clearly, what we're doing, what we're about, so it attracts like-minded people, both for staff and then for clients. I'm sorry.
I think that answers the question. Let me, as far as the business seminar, as far as I know, you're the only person addressing that and tattooing, and it's something we interview a lot of people that are starting shops, that have managed shops for a while, that really have never taken the time to learn a lot about business. There are no real written processes. Do you find people staring at you like glazed over, like they have no idea what you're talking about? Are people receptive to that? Because anytime I feel like I bring up anything business or process oriented, systems oriented, it's always kind of a pass the buck thing. Oh no, I'm not the shop manager, I just own the shop, my wife does that. That kind of thing. Do you find that still like the common mindset in tattooing as a whole? Yeah, I mean,
I've got a unique perspective. People that don't give a shit aren't attracted to me. I'm a non-tattooing computer geek, so it's like, why would I spend, he probably just kisses everybody's ass and or pays them to be on the web, right. Like that kind of mentality isn't attracted to me, so I don't mind it, And I have a relatively low tolerance. I mean, my time on this earth is just as limited as yours is, and I don't want to spend it with you if you don't really want to spend it with me.
Sure.
And so, I mean, yeah, there's always I've got plenty of detractors, and I don't get along with everybody, but that's okay. We don't have to get along with everybody.
Right.
I mean, I was always, frankly, I mean, I would be, I like to get along with people, but if most people suck, then I'm not going to get along with most people.
You won't lose any sleep over it, huh?
But I don't mean to be negative, because when people are like, "Oh, most people suck," I'm like, not most people I hang out with.
Right.
I hang out with hundreds of people that are pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm selective about, and that's because they get along with me. We get along. I'm sure those 100 people don't get along with 100 other people.
Yeah.
So everybody gets to play, but however they want to.
Yeah. Talk for a second about planning an event on the other side of the world. I know you have Alex here helping. It'd probably be impossible without that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What logistically are there, as opposed to the Portland conference that I was at this past fall? You've got a shop nearby there.
Sure.
It's probably a lot easier to get to Portland. You speak the same language.
Speak the same language.
That
amazing.
helps. Yeah. It doesn't take a boat to get everything to where it needs to go.
Nope. Although a lot of the locations we go to are very inconvenient.
Yeah.
The Jiminy Peak and Keystone and even the Tamiya. I mean, well, I don't mean to hijack the question, but in many ways, part of the things that we're doing with our events is we put them in places that are not that easy to find or get to. It's somewhat of a pilgrimage. So assholes don't take the effort to get there.
Right.
And again, it's not like any of these shows are massively attended by hundreds of thousands of people. But it's all the right people.
Yeah.
And so when we're doing conventions, as far as the locations, this is definitely the biggest event that I've helped be a part of overseas. We've done smaller events, that are a couple days here or there. It's it's crazy.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, you seem pretty relaxed. Everything going cool." I'm like, "Yeah, it's going cool, but it's fucking crazy."
Yeah.
I mean, and the challenges of Venice in particular. But we wouldn't have gotten this far without a great team. Stefania here on the ground, Alex, and the whole crew of the two tattoo shops that are in the area that are helping out.
What's the other shop in the area?
The Venetian job. That's Alex's place in Venice. Here.
Oh, okay.
And then off the map is in Cerviano. There's a big team up there and a smaller team here on the ground.
How far away is that?
It's about an hour and 15 minutes maybe by train. It's kind of near another islandy town, Grotto.
Oh, okay.
So that's a beautiful place to go kind of vacation. You work and go around. But it's but again, we've been doing this for a while now. We're coming over here and engaging. So a lot of the people that are here have been coming to our activities and our seminars, and as every time that we're doing a small event, we more and more people are catching on and learning that we're not full of bullshit, or that they see the progress that their friends are making when they come to these types of events. So it's amazing because at this point, we have a lot of support, and that's why we're able to pull it off.
Yeah. So this time next year, when it's time to come back and do the Venetian Gathering again, is it something that are you doing it?
Did somebody else say that?
No, I'm just asking if you're doing it another year. So hypothetically, if it comes back around, is this something you look forward to doing again, or do you dread the idea?
It's a roller coaster ride, and the reason why I said, if anybody else said we're doing it again, I'd be like, they said next year. We're all very busy. Alex,
you heard it here first.
Well, I'm pretty damn sure we're not doing it again next year.
Right.
It's an amazing event, so it'd be hard to imagine not doing it again.
Yeah.
Durbin and Alex and I, we all have a lot of other projects. Durb has 2 Hell Cities coming up every year for the next 5 years.
Right.
Alex has other companies and shops, and he's teaching at the university. Like I said, we've got a lot going on with just off the map and some of these other things that we're doing. On the other hand, coming to this and seeing what's happening and meeting everybody again and doing it and experiencing Venice and having brought so many people here to Venice. Not brought people, but we were attracted a lot of people here to Venice for the first time, and some people came here to Europe for the first time. It's hard not to imagine doing it again. So maybe in a couple of years we would be doing it again.
You mentioned how the pilgrimage, that's a
Maybe
good word
next year.
to get. Maybe next year, yeah. How kind of remote a lot of the settings are and things like that. So obviously that takes a little more effort than having it and having a convention in a major city. Do you feel like the trade-off is there? Is it worth it to be in these areas? I mean, outside of attracting the right people, is the environment really
Well,
what
what do you mean by worth it? Other people try it and they're like, how do you make money at this shit?
Right,
Like, well,
yeah.
I mean, the value of what we're doing, absolutely. I mean, and yes, absolutely. It's you can't. For me, it's. I mean, you can't. I've watched other people get together, as many talented, smart people, but they don't create the environment that keeps them. I mean, in other interviews, I talk about the influence of my wife's work on what I do. She teaches infants. A lot of people say, "What can you teach infants?" We say you can teach them everything because their brains are forming at the time. So how would you do that? It would say creating an environment that fosters it. And so when we're creating an environment like this that's fostering sharing and education and knowledge exchange with so many, exceptional people, in some ways it's like, because we have, and there's other things that are involved with it, of course. But again, I freak out every time, like, holy shit, what if I take a bath? You know what? When I know what's going to happen when all these people get together, and shit's going to get better. And even if it hurts, sometimes it hurts, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always worth it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and speaking to that, getting a lot of like-minded people together, something that I feel is still in a transitional phase from when I started tattooing is it was such a close.
I didn't realize my wife was right there.
Yeah, they've been there the whole time. I thought you did that on purpose. I thought
no,
you
completely. I did. No, I didn't.
I feel like we're still in a bit of a transitional phase, and you guys are really helping to push it. But we still interview people, talk to people that are part of the closed network of tattooing that existed. That was 99% of tattooing when I started in '96 doing this. It was very, very closed, and bad information sometimes was passed intentionally to sabotage. And do you find that you're still dealing with those hurdles? Do you feel like just because of the environment and the people you attract that's gone away for you guys?
And again, it's hard to. If I've encountered those hurdles, they're level 1 hurdles. They don't mean anything to me. Like I really spend. I don't need to spend any time thinking about closed-minded people.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about me. They're closed-minded. I want to spend my time with people that are constantly growing and opening their minds up to new things. Not flip-flopping and moving around, but like always trying to explore and deeper. Go deeper into the things that we're all kind of exploring. Yeah. And if someone is like, I don't think exploring deep ideas is a good idea, and it's like, good, don't.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah. Don't. I'll try not. I try not to detract too much from people that have that philosophy. Although sometimes it's hard, not to make a snide comment. I hope they don't detract from me from trying to, I'm not trying to, I'm not a brainiac. I don't, or anything. But I don't know. Mostly I don't know. I don't hang out with those people too much.
Don't worry. It doesn't affect your daily life doing this. Huh?
Not really. Again, there's people that are disparaging towards what we do or think I just kiss people's ass or whatever. That's fine. They can think that. They don't really, they don't affect my life all that much. And, maybe if they, some of them do because, we run in the same circles. But, for the most part, everybody can play however they want to.
Mm-hmm. Where does it go from here? Your plate's obviously pretty full with the events that you put on, with the webinars, with the Tattoo Now TV, all those kinds of things. Does something, if you're going to continue to evolve, does something have to drop off? If so, what is that? Are you able to build on what you're doing?
Yeah. In many ways, I have a lot of friends that are musicians, right? And in my it feels almost like building up of a song or of a orchestra or whatever, symphony. We have all of these now. We have all these things that are in our toolbox. Say, we've got tattoo shops, and we've and the events and the different types of events, and the different types of locations. Figuring out how to make sure that it could, and they all have use. They're all doing great stuff. When we focus on the different things, they're all successful and they produce great effects. Some of it has to do. Some of what we can do has to do with the staff that we have and their level of interest in things. Two of our team members are learning to tattoo. So they've been working inside of the business for a while, doing webinars and watching people tattoo. I mean, watching or recording the webinars is an apprentice, practically what apprentices.
Right.
I mean, it's an opportunity that most apprentices don't have.
Sure.
To be able to watch all those webinars, to record those webinars, to edit them. Sometimes you're looking at them 3 times.
Yeah.
Editing them and asking the questions to Guy Aitchison. Hey, on the chat room, to the questions. Our graphic designers work for Hire Guy. People want to do websites from him. He builds their website. He's intimate with how tattooers are thinking about graphics and such.
Yeah.
So some of what we're doing and how we're doing it has to do with who's actually on the ground at the moment, and that's always changing, which is amazing because to run a business this big, to always have people moving around and stuff is crazy. But on the other hand, when the right people are in the right spots and the right time, and again, this is the right time and place for the Venetian Tattoo Gathering. Maybe the worldwide conference is going to be. I think we're going to maybe go to Brooklyn next year. So we're going to bring it, back to the East Coast. We move it around. We move the stuff around. We can't get stale, clearly.
Yeah.
But as long as things are flowing to the next thing, and it all makes sense together.
Yeah.
We could accomplish quite a bit. I mean, we got 35 people. We better be doing a lot of fucking shit, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it seems like it's fairly intuitive for you. Like wherever it feels like it should go next, it kind of goes, and then the ability to keep 30 plus people on board with that idea and on the same page is a testament to what you guys are doing. I guess it's.
I read a lot of books and listen to a lot of podcasts, trying to figure out how to keep it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that talking about the 2 guys getting into tattooing. We have 2 guys that normally run our cameras that I wish were here today. Not that Emily's doing awesome, and I would never wish she was not here, but I wish our guys were here as well to be part of this. But I talk to them a lot. Neither of them are tattooers. Neither of them are artists, and they have no interest in becoming artists. They just both happen to run cameras and edit video. And I tell them all the time now, like, you probably are more educated in tattooing than most 3-year tattooers with all the people we've talked to, all the questions that we've answered. And it's awesome for people to be part of this environment, especially if they're not artists. It's a great way to have an outlet or to get to pour information in. I'm glad they're a part of it.
It's very awkward.
Awkward?
When I watch tattooers, tattooers of 5 or 6 years that didn't take the seminar that I just watched make a mistake because they're too lazy to get to the seminar. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I can only criticize. But then I'm also responsible for every tattoo that comes out of the shop.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I have a responsibility to make sure that they don't make the mistakes that they shouldn't be making because they had the opportunity to learn not to make. Yeah. But how hard do I press? Yeah. You have to go to all the seminars that would come through off the map. Right. That's required. I don't want to,
Yeah. Well, you want people that are self-driven, I guess. I mean, if you're having to force them to take seminars to get better, then they're probably not a person you want on your team.
Most of the people that sleep through the seminars, But again, part of it's also like if somebody's doing a fantastic job at their job. They're doing positive business. The shop's making money. They're doing, and they don't make it to a seminar. It's not like we could be like, well, you can't work here unless you go to every seminar. So it's finding that balance. I mean, it is ultimately up to evolving towards artists who are loving to do it all the time without, naturally. Yeah. And our team is, again, our team has evolved to a pretty, again, all 35 people are pretty on board with everything we're doing.
Yeah. It seems that way. Man, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for having us out.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we very fun
really enjoyed it.
See other podcasts and shit come around.
Yeah. Thanks. So keep up with Gabe. He's all over. He's the social media master, or someone. One of those 35 people are, because they're all over the place. So I'm sure you can find him easily. TattooImprovement.com. Sign up for the mailing list, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Have fun. And definitely do a gondola interview.
A gondola interview? We need to. I know.